Come, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל העולם.
יעשה שלום,
שלום,
שלום עלינו
עלינו
ועל כל ישראל.
ועל כל
יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו
ועל כל ישראל.
יעשה
שלום,
יעשה שלום,
שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום,
יעשה שלום,
יעשה שלום ועל כל העולם.
שמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם, עוד היא לעולם.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני,
עשה אדוני
את השמיים ואת הארץ.
ושמרו
Shabbat vayinafash.
Shabbat vayinafash.
Shabbat vayinafash.
Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל.
Hi, I'm Carrie Tapia. I'm the new executive director here. I'm so happy to be back after being gone for almost 10 years, and I welcome the opportunity to meet those of you who I've yet to meet and reconnect with those that I've known from my time here before. So please feel free to reach out to me anytime. My office door is always open, and look forward to seeing you.
השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. יא לי לה לי לה יא לי לה לי יא לי לה לה לה. שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו שיר חדש. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני שיר חדש. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני שיר חדש.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So, welcome everyone. My name is Philip Rice. They do call me Rabbi Flip. That's Miss Lisa Silver over there. She's our musical director. And John Mock, we're always happy to have in the house. Rabbi Lori Rice sits on our bima as well. We will hear words of Torah later from her. We, of course, welcome everyone who's joining us virtually and thank Misty at the back of the room that they can hear me and see me. And a special shout out to Carrie Tapia, our executive director, who actually kind of fixed it and made it all work today because we were heading towards some trouble. There were some power outages last night. And I always say the service continues, but you all at home wouldn't get to see. So hopefully you're hearing and watching and a part of our Shabbos. We welcome you into this room. Last week I did a Shalom Aleichem. This week I'm going to say Lachado Di, and you say Likrat Kala. Okay, ready? Lachado Di.
Likrat Kala.
Right. Lachado Di is sort of welcome my beloved. Likrat Kala, it sort of means welcoming the bride. We greet the Sabbath like it is a bride. Before we get there, what we have to do is recognize that it's kind of a special day in the Schwartz family. And I see a row of them in front of me here. And so we're going to get them to come up because Gavin and Olivia, now, please rise, are going to become a bar bat mitzvah, b'nai mitzvah, on our bima tomorrow, on our pulpit. And in celebration of that, yes, David and Amanda, you should come with them. We're going to have them ignite our candles. You guys are going over here. And I'm going to invite you guys to please read with me. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. And as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, creator of the universe, by your commandments we are sanctified as we kindle the lights of Shabbat. Amen.
Okay, are you ready for Lecha Dodi? You're going to try and keep up. At the end, the last verse, I'm going to go like this. And we're literally going to turn to the doors. We can wave to Carrie, or we're going to welcome the Sabbath bride in. Try and keep up. Good luck.
1, 2. Lecha Dodi, lecha kalai, alalai, 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 b'nai Shabbat, Kabbalah. Lecha Dodi, lecha kalai, alalai, 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 b'nai Shabbat, Kabbalah. Shamor v'zachor, v'dibor echad, yishme'anu el ha'miyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, v'shem u'teferet, v'lefilach. Lecha Dodi, lecha kalai, alalai, 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 b'nai Shabbat, Kabbalah. Lecha Dodi, lecha kalai, alalai, 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 b'nai Shabbat, Kabbalah. Lekat Shabbat, lechu v'ne'alcha,
Yitkara v'yitkara shmei rabba. Balma divarach hirute v'yam lich malchute. B'chaychon ufyom mechon. Ub'chayetcho beit Yisrael. Bagala uvisman kariv. Bimaru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach. Leoleu almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpar v'yitroma v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemit kudasha barichu leilai min kol birchata v'shirata
tushbechata v'nechemata damiran belma bimaru.
Amen.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Leolam Ba'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed.
We invite you to take your seats. I'm going to tell you a quick story. It's a story about this character we know as Yaakov Jacob, whose name is changed to Yisrael. And we fast forward many Torah portions in our story to later in the Torah when this great figure is about to pass. And he has his family around him, and he gathers them and he tells them, the time is coming soon. It's near, and I'm afraid. And right away, Joseph, his young son, his favorite, steps forward and says, Jacob, Dad, you've got nothing to be afraid of. You wrestled with God and became Yisrael. God knows you. God will remember you. And at this point, Jacob says, oh, I'm not afraid for me. I'm afraid for you. He said, you live in this land of Egypt. It's like the United States of America. It's a very seductive place. And I worry that you will not know your true identity, your true people. I worry you will not know the truth. And that is, you belong in the land of Israel, and that you belong to the people Israel. And it's at this point that Joseph, his youngest son, steps forward and says, Shema Yisrael. He says, listen, Jacob, listen, Dad. Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. I know there is one God, one and only, one eternal. And with his last breath, we repeat the words that are not in the Bible, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed, the last words, really, of the dying Jacob, the dying Israel, who says, blessed be the name of that God now and forever. We chant these ancient words together.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kavod Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Gavin here wants to make sure we're going to back him up. We're going to back him up? All right, let's do it.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך וכל לבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך וחיו הדברים האלה אשר נובעים בצאתך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לילות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Let me go back. It's hard to get the Hebrew, the translate, and the English up there so that you can see it. And now the people who are watching there, they said, could you make it a little bigger? So, Ani Adonai Elohechem, I am Adonai your God, Asher Chotzeti Etchem, the one that brought you out, Me'eretz Mitzrayim, from the land of Egypt. L'chyot lachem le'Elohim, so that I could be your God. That's part of the story. And then we arrive here, and we arrive at the shore of a sea, and all we can do is hope and pray that we can make it to the other side, which I think a lot of people know what that's like in all of the things that they encounter in the difficulties in life. But we got a song for that too.
Bailim Adonai, mi kamocha netar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, malchutecha ra'u anecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, malchutecha ra'u anecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe. Bailim Adonai, mi kamocha netar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, yadadai,
Check this out. My daughter got a 45 out of 40 on her math test, and her tutor's here, so I'm just going to go like that. Thank you very much. Okay, I say that because it's celebratory. She also, hold on to it, made the varsity cheerleading team. So, round of applause, please, for my daughter. She's not here. She's not here, but this is the part where we kind of celebrate our joys, and I'm feeling pretty joyous about it. I could pull my parents up because I know the grandparents are very excited too, but I'm not going to do that. Anybody else celebrating something kind of fun? Birthday, anniversary. Otherwise, Gavin, come over here, please. Olivia, just stand over here. You're my in-house talent. Okay, I'll bring it over here. Stand right over here. Just stand there unawkwardly. Okay. Somebody else. birthday, anniversary, just something joy. What do you got? Get up here. Cape and all. Okay. We're going birthday and B'nai Mitzvah on this one. Yeah, seriously. Nothing to do with Halloween, by the way. He comes every Friday night like this. Okay. Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, may the great God who blessed any of our ancestors before us with happy occasions, especially birthdays and sacred celebrations like a bar bat mitzvah, continue to bless you in your lives in every endeavor, reminding you that these happy occasions are even more joyous when you share them in community with family and friends. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechechiyanu v'kiyumanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. You say amen. It means we thank God who created us and who helps us along the way and enables us to reach special times like this. Okay, watch this. Rabbi Flip having fun with the slides. Can we give him a round of applause, please? Okay, you
Just
guys
like
can go
the
back and
Opry,
say it.
Rabbi
You can
Flip.
go back and say it. Good job, good job. Okay, so on this journey, there was scary things, because just because we made it to the other side of the sea doesn't mean that everything's okay. There's still things that frighten us. And while we celebrate the joys, we also pray for protection from the scary things. And we're going to do that now.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu l'chaim. We pray for a time when our worries will cease. Create in this moment a shelter of peace, a shelter of peace. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu l'chaim. U'shmot tzeitzenu u'vo'enu l'chaim u'l'shalom me'atah l'ad olam. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukkah. Shalom aleinu kol amo Yisrael ba'al Yerushalayim. We pray for a time when our worries will cease. Create in this moment a shelter of peace, a shelter of peace. A shelter of peace. A shelter of peace.
Please rise.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakom v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot u'Mevi Geula Livnei v'Nehem L'ma'an Shemo be'ahava Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah Tagibor le'olam Adonai Mechayei hako atarav le'oshia Mechalkel chayim bechesed Mechayei hako barachamim rabim Somech noflim ve'rofech cholim Umatir asurim Umekayem emunato lishen elfar Michamocha ba'al givurot umido melach Melech memit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman ata lehachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kudoshim b'chol yom yahlelucha selah Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
We always take a little bit of time for our own silent thoughts and prayers. And when you're done, you may be seated. When most of us are sitting, we'll sing again.
Achat shalti meit Adonai Achat shalti otavakesh Achat shalti meit Adonai Achat shalti otavakesh Shivti, shivti bevei Adonai Shivti, shivti kol yemei chayav Shivti Shivti bevei Adonai Shivti Shivti kol yemei chayav L'chazor b'noam Adonai U'makir b'hem beauty of Adonai. One thing, I ask you, Adonai, to be with you all of my life. One thing, I ask you, Adonai, to be with you all of my life. Akachalti met Adonai. Akachalti otavakesh.
Shabbat Shalom. Our Torah this week is called, as Gavin and Olivia know well, Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah. It begins with the words, Vayihiyu Chaye Sarah me'ah shana ve'esrim shana, v'sheva shanim shnei Chaye Sarah, v'tamet Sarah. Sarah lived to be 127 years old. Such was the span of Sarah's life. And Sarah died. Now, the Torah portion is entitled The Life of Sarah, and yet we don't learn about Sarah's life. In fact, the very first thing that happens in the Parsha is that Sarah dies. Now, how can this section of Torah be about her life when in the very first pasuk, the very first verse, our matriarch dies? I've always wondered at this linguistic conundrum, but it occurred to me upon this most recent read this week that I've come to understand that perhaps we are being given instruction on how to address the death of someone in our midst, someone important to us, someone we know and love. I think the Torah is teaching us that to address a death is to speak of a life once lived. Now, there's a particular verse in the Mishnah attributed to Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, and it helps us to understand when, as a friend, we have to hold back. The verse says, "Do not try to pacify your friend in the hour when he is in a rage, and do not comfort him in the house when his dead lies unburied before him. And do not question him in the hour when he is making a vow, and do not make an effort to see him in the hour of his disgrace." Now, every act of restraint mentioned here protects the emotional fragility of someone caught in the throes of anguish or humiliation. And in his commentary to Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of Our Fathers, Rabbi Yitz Greenberg observes that in 4 cases cited, the 4 I just mentioned, the overt message of our words and actions become the contradictory subtext of the actual effects of our intervention with one another. In other words, our good intentions are contradicted by the facts on the ground. We're saying the right things, but due to insensitivity to another person's state, our actions have the opposite effect. Communication works 2 ways. Words are given and received, and sometimes, without paying careful attention, they're not received well. Timing is everything. Now, the Mishnah calls for 2 words: situational awareness. Friends shouldn't interfere when emotions are high, it says, and one's circumstances or one's dignity is low. It does not mean it's inappropriate to intervene when there's calm. We need our friends to question our anger or our judgment and to provide a guiding hand and a comforting soul when we have the capacity to hear what it is they have to say. As Dionne Warwick sang so well, that's what friends are for. Now, Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant's book entitled Option B, Facing Adversity, Building Resilience, and Finding Joy, notes that we'd all like an Option A life, but few of us will actually have one. Sandberg writes movingly of her pain. Her husband died in a hotel gym on vacation. She found him and shares the exquisite difficulty of sharing this news with her children. The woman who told us to lean in, that's Sheryl Sandberg, does not hold back. She makes herself very vulnerable in these pages, and I wonder what she might think about this teaching from Ethics of Our Fathers, from Pirkei Avot, because in one of her most moving chapters, Sandberg tells us what it means to be a friend to one who has suffered immense loss. Sandberg herself was struck by friends who restrained themselves so much it was as if they ignored this huge, seemingly unavoidable news in her life. She said many people who had not experienced loss, even some of my very close friends, didn't know what to say to me or my kids. Their discomfort being around us was palpable, especially in contrast to our previous ease. As the elephant in the room went unacknowledged, it started acting up, trampling over my relationships. If friends didn't ask how I was doing, did that mean they didn't care? Did they not see the giant muddy footprints and piles of manure? Sandberg also points out that when the person experiencing these losses remains silent, it can isolate us from our friends and from our family and colleagues. It seems like it might be impossible to get it right. But this was not Sandberg's issue. She was really open about her grief. She writes about weeping openly at work, and so the discomfort of others became all the more shocking and disappointing. She says, the deep loneliness of my loss was compounded by so many distancing daily interactions that I started to feel worse and worse. I thought about carrying around a stuffed elephant, but I wasn't sure anyone would get the hint. Now, it's natural that many of us refrain from saying anything because we don't want to cause the one who's suffering more pain, not realizing, of course, that this itself is the cause of pain. Sandberg shares some helpful advice. She says, avoid platitudes, especially this one. You all know this one. Everything happens for a reason. Because suffering does not benefit from competition. So try not, she says, to one-up someone else's suffering or to focus on oneself at the expense of the person who needs to be comforted. They include a great card image. When life gives you lemons, I won't tell you a story about my cousin's friend who died of lemons. Rabbi, do we have a slide? This was one of my favorites recently. Thanks. I knew I could count on you to turn my problem into something way worse that happened to you. Instead of asking, how are you, a question which seems inappropriate, because we know, how should I be given my suffering, of course, maybe we ask, how are you today? Messages like, I'm thinking about you, or it must be really hard for you right now, they provide comfort. Letting someone know that he or she is not alone can minimize distance. And I'll add, from a parenting perspective, help your kids lean in when it comes to addressing other kids and adults who are struggling. Teach your children not to be afraid of approaching the pain of others. Because ultimately, the chesed, the compassion that we show when we speak of those who have died to their loved ones still living, it's how we grant a glimpse of immortality for those who have passed on. It's how we keep their memory alive and stoke the love, honor the love that existed and still exists on the part of the living. In V.E. Schwab's recent novel, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, the protagonist, Addie LaRue, in an act of desperation, makes a deal with the devil to live forever, but in exchange, no one will ever remember her. She then learns that the loneliness of a life where everyone forgets you is quite severe. And in the words of Evan Hansen, no one wants to disappear. And Torah is teaching us that it's in our hands to make sure that that doesn't happen. and that the way to honor a life is to talk about it and to celebrate it, not just at the memorial service shortly after the life has ended, but ongoing. Everyone I know who has lost someone that they care about, whether it's a parent or a grandparent or a spouse or, God forbid, a child or a sibling or a friend, for the most part, they are so appreciative when I mention their loved one who has died. And I now make it a point quite often, when I think of someone who has passed, I call their next of kin and I let them know. We say at Shiva that the way to keep the deceased person in our lives present and a blessing to us every day is to remember them by sharing stories about their life, the memories that make us laugh and smile and sometimes cry, sometimes even scream. But we honor their death by speaking about their life, like Sarah. And we hope that someone will do the same for us when we're gone. Our immortality depends on it. We invest in the principle of our own immortality when we share stories and remembrances of those who came before us. I think about all of the amazing people that we have been humbly privileged to bury in our cemetery, even if their passing was gut-wrenching for us. I think of Dick and Cynthia Morin and Simon Riss and Mara Millman and Jane Eskind and Robbie Keller and Julian Cantor, and there are so many. Our cemetery is a tranquil garden of memories, a mosaic of lives that were rich and vibrant and important to so many. A virtual well of history containing so much love. And every time I go back there, I am moved by what is contained and housed in that sacred space. We are incredibly blessed with it. So I end with these words, which may be very familiar to you, by Sylvan Kamens and Rabbi Jack Reamer. At the rising sun and at its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we have joy, we crave to share. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, for as long as we live, they too will live, for they now are a part of us, and we remember them.
In the rising of the sun, we remember. In the blowing of the wind, we remember. In the opening of buds, we remember. We remember. In the blueness of the sky, we remember. In the rustling of leaves, we remember. As the year starts and it ends, we remember. We remember. When we're weary and need strength, we remember. When we're lost and sick at heart, we remember. When we've joys we yearn to share, we remember. We remember. So long as we live, they too shall live. They are now a part of us. They are now a part of us. They are now
Micah member George Hahn is 90 years old, and I got to see him in the hospital before he was discharged. He went home, so he's doing better, and that's the good news. And I'm telling you because when I went to see him in the hospital, he said that he and Francis really miss coming here. They used to come all the time, like at least once a month. And now Francis has him watch every week. So we're mentioning your name first, George, and including it as well in the list of names of people who are in need of a blessing for healing. So we're glad you're doing better. But I want to include the names Steve Geringer and Paul Richter, Crystal Miller and Charlie Baugh, Dick Eskin, Steve Gould, B.B. Weinstein, Alex Morgan and Bill Drongowski, Edria Ragusin, Janice Grossman, Jill Gutnick, Florence Wittenstein Saperstein, Mike Harris, Alan Mandel, Caitlin Kopelman and the whole family, Michael Groh, Karen Kotlanow, and Jessica Waldron. If there's names I've neglected to mention or just people you would like to say aloud, we invite you to do so.
Susan Burdine.
We think of all people in need of a blessing for healing, and we invite you with us to sing along.
For the hurt of body and of soul, for the suffering and pain, as you heal the ones who came before, may you heal us just the same. Refuat hanefesh v'haguf ve'hona refana. Refinu Adonai refuah shleima. Refuat hanefesh v'haguf ve'hona refana. Refinu Adonai refuah shleima. For the hurt of body and of soul, for the suffering and pain, as you heal the ones who came before, may you heal us just the same. As you heal the ones who came before, may you heal us just the same.
Our concluding prayers begin with the words of Elenu. We invite you to please rise. I see the Averys. Do you want to come open these doors? All right, they're on their way. Thank you.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer b'reshit, shelo asanu kigoyeh haratzot, v'lo samaru kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kachol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו Ushmo echad.
We remain standing as we think of those people who have passed. We recall the recent loss of Lois Hershkowitz, Bruce Goldstein, Jerry Lee Kopelman, and Anita Ray Head. We also recall the yard sites on the anniversaries of their deaths: Joan Pert, Phyllis Rothkopf, Daniel W. Kitchener, Sabrina Rosenzweig, Isaac Rosenzweig, Ruth Silverman, Evelyn Lippy, Mr. Bernard Hinbis, Roger H. Eppinger, Dr. Howard C. Barron, Mrs. Desiree Zamek, Selma Vivian Bear, Thea Godofsky, Lillian Coral, Elizabeth Hare Kurland, Bob Murray, Sarah Schwartz, and Ada P. Rosen. If there's other names you'd like to add? We join together in Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirote v'yamlik malchute, v'chayachon uv'yamachon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'izman kari v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach la'alam ulalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei d'kudisha b'richu, Ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nekamata, damiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shamaya, v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom ben ramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. We say zikranam l'bracha, that their memory should always live on as a blessing. Sit, please, just briefly. I'm going to make a couple of announcements. I always try and do it quickly. Of course, tomorrow morning, Torah study begins at 9 a.m. on Zoom with me. It's going to be awesome. You just got to go to the website and you can link right in. After which, it's going to be even more awesome with the B'nai Mitzvah of Gavin and Olivia Schwartz, 10:30 here in the sanctuary, also available on our website on live stream. On Sunday, Rabbi Lori and Julie Greenberg, our education director, will begin teaching a 3-session course on Jewish parenting. And that's going to take place at 9:30 a.m. And it'll take, I think, 3 weeks session is that what they're going to do. Excuse me, it's at 10:15, not at 9. Sports trivia is also starting the first Tuesday of the month, so it'll be in the building here at 10:30, I believe. Mahjong is on Thursdays, and that's on November 2nd, 4th, I think, this week at 12:30. Say again? Tuesdays. I said Thursdays? It's Tuesdays. That's what happens when I go too fast. Wednesdays, on November 3rd, 10th, and 17th, my friend and a former study partner, Rabbi Ethan Franzel from Philadelphia, so on Zoom, will offer this educational offering called Equanimity and Contemplative Practice. It's how Jewish spirituality can bring more mindfulness and more balance and wholeness really to our lives. Then Thursday, we have our Shmooze and Views political conversation that takes place both on Zoom and in person. And Micah Book Club, Micah Reads, is going to get together on Zoom, and I believe that is on the 8th. That's, I think, all I got, other than to know for sure you should like our socials, because we're trying to, be cool. All right, that's what I got. We're going to make a kiddush. We invite everyone to rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'yahava uvratzon hinkilanu zikaro lama'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים. בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
L'chaim. All right, so my Tribeca class, you're going to start making your way up here. Don't hesitate. We're going to finish with a closing song. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Oh, say shalom, shalom b'romav. Hu yaseh shalom. Shalom, shalom b'romav. Hu yaseh shalom. Oh, say shalom b'romav. Shalom aleinu. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3.